This looks like a normal edit, but then there's always something better than what you have right now. What's up everybody, my name is Armstrong Gosas, and today I'm just going to show you how to add midtones, shadows and highlights. Are you ready? Let's hit right to it. Okay, so this is Priscilla Ojo, right? And this is a well lit photo. Now, before I got to this place, I had to do the smudge, I had to add colors, those other things. This is how the picture looks before, and this is how it is now. So if you want to get a full detail of how we should go about that, I mean, there are 1001 videos, but today is about shadows, midtones and highlights. To normal people, this looks beautiful, but to me, nah, not so much. So I'm just going to duplicate with Ctrl J. I'll clip it here by pressing alternate and clipping it. And first of all, when you want to add the shadows, midtones and highlights, there's one thing you should first of all do. Now I'm going to go to this part. Now this is dodge tool, and like this illustration is giving us, there's dodge, there's burn and there's sponge. So the first thing I'm going to do is to choose the, say let's go with burn to make it a little bit darker. And please make sure you start with midtone, and let's keep exposure at 20%. So I'm just going to increase or reduce the brush size with your curly bracket, and I'm just going to add a little bit of darkness to this. Now try to not make her very dark. One of the things you do to ruin what you are doing, okay, I think 20 is way too much. Let me just keep the degree at 0. Yeah, and I think I think I should make this the midtone and the exposure should be at that. One of the things you want to do is not make her very dark, because the darker she gets, the older she looks, and she's a young girl with agile blood. So one of the things you should do is to not make her darker. So I'm going to add a little bit of burn here, and I'll bring it down. Yeah, something like this. If you are very attentive, you notice I'm using a different laptop. This is the first time I'll be using this laptop. I've had it for quite a while, but I really like using the other one that is a little bit manual. But this, I can scroll down like this with using 2 fingers on my laptop. Yeah, so what I'm basically doing is adding this burn to the different parts of the face. Now for the nose, one of the things you can do is this. You can probably make the brush size smaller, make it exposure say 20, and then just add this babyish feel, this little shade on her nose. What it makes the nose look a little bit obvious, and then right under the nose here you can add this little shade. Remember it's at 20 and we're using the burn at the midtone, so you can do this. Then right in between her mouth here you can add this like this, and then on top of her lip, the upper lip is always darker than the lower lip a little bit, except those that use fake lip balm. But if you do not, I think the upper lip is always darker than the lower lip. So then I'm going to do this, and then right under her lip right here, this line, the lip always has this line, especially because it's a woman. The lip always has this line that makes it so obvious, and people that make up usually do that. So it's time to add yeah, these are the normal things you get to add. Now it doesn't look like we have done too much, but we have a little bit. We have done some things that are, I don't know, probably good to the eyes. Now then, one other thing you can do is give her a little bit of forehead. You know that the forehead gang helps. Now before and now, there's a little bit of depth to it. Now another thing you can still do is to add the highlight. So for the highlights, one of the things I like doing, especially when her face is well lit like this, is firstly to add highlight in very obvious spaces. Now highlights makes the whole difference. So I come to the side of the nose here. Most of the times I come to the side of the nose here and add this. You see this part? Okay, now that's too much. I can just make the exposure say 20 here by pressing 2 on my keyboard and add this. You notice that this has become so obvious, and then right underneath this like this. Now one of the things that it does is to make it make that part of the face obvious, and to make it look a whole lot better and beautiful, if you may. Now for the side of the eyes, I also add highlight to this part. Now one of the things you want to do is, so before and now, doesn't look like it's too much, but then why I add the burn tool right before adding the highlight is because in darkness light can become so obvious. So when it's dark a bit, when you add the highlight, it becomes much. Okay, so now to the lip, one of the things you can do, like I had a video about the lip, one of the things you can do is just add a dramatic highlight to this Now I like adding dramatic highlights, and then before I would usually add normal highlights, but now I like adding dramatic highlight. By the dramatic highlights I mean adding these highlights, this highlight, then making the exposure say 20 or so. Yeah, and then add this part of the lip, make it a little bit obvious, a little bit shiny, not so much. Remember the quote that always propels us anytime we're making tutorials or anytime we're making videos or anytime we're making art. Just try to keep it simple. When you keep it simple, everything turns out very, very fine and very beautiful. Yeah, I think this is what we have right here. Now, one of the things you can do is turn this to midtones and paint over the lip here. So yeah, this is what we have. It feels like this part, this what we gave her made her lip a little bit like she has this big mouth. I'm not sure she does. So yeah, one thing you can do with the mid-tone, remember it's on highlights now. On the dodge, you can give her mid-tone and just paint over the side of the face here a little bit. And this is where light falls too. I would always say one of the things you want to do very much, I'm just going to go outside this and pick a normal color here. Now, one of the things you want to do when you are adding mid-tone shadows and highlights is to pick where the light falls through. I've done this before, but then to illustrate this better, I think I should make it easier. So when light comes to the face, for example this part, there's this part of the face. Now one of the things you can do is this part of the face has light. Now one of the things you can do is to look at where light comes through. I mean light is meeting the part of her face, this, like this, and then light comes right on top of this, right? So when it comes here, it falls to this part of the face, this part of the face, the lip. So when you do this, it just makes it a whole lot easier. And then this part, light falls from up. So any place it touches, like it's touching top of the hand here, this part is touching this part. So you try to make all these parts very, very, very bright, if I may, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. So that's why I made this part a little bit dark and this part brighter. So I'm just going to keep doing that. And please make sure where you're adding your highlight and shadows is right on the layer. I created a new layer so I can always see the difference. So this is before and this is now. So I created a new layer right above this so I can always see what this looks like. Now, when you have done that, you can still keep adding highlights. Now, one of the tricks I like doing still is to add a color right on the cheek, right where there's so much highlight. It makes it look obvious. So I'm going to choose color, attributes color, and go to and select the red color. I don't want to make it so much. I can make it somewhere around here. I'll choose the brush tool and then paint right over those places that are very bright, like this. Now this is like red because it's okay like that, so I'm just going to paint right above this here, this, and on her forehead. Now because all these parts are very, very obvious like this, light literally falls on them, and yeah, it makes it look nice. So this is what we have. So I'm going to pick the eraser tool, for example. So then after that, I'll pick the eraser tool and erase some parts, say make it 20, erase some parts that are not so obvious and make it so it will blend in a bit. Yeah, I think this is good. Yeah, I think this is good. So just erase it a bit. So when you do this, it's a little tip that just makes your whole art pop up. Now when I'm through with that, I'm going to make the opacity say 50, and this is what we'll have. Now I'm going to turn it off before and now, so you can just reduce a bit, and where you feel like it's way too much, like the hand like this, you can always erase it. That way to just make what you did come up, and it will give it this very beautiful conspicuous look, if you may. Now finally, for the ear, there's just a few things I like doing for the ear, and I just add highlights right above the top of the ear here where I know that light falls through or in. And when you've added the mid-tone like this, the next thing you want to do is add the highlight. Now adding highlight, I'm just going to add this, and yeah, all this. Now that is going to make it obvious. Now there's some part of the face that usually have like this makeup. That's one of the reasons I chose this picture. This part is very bright, so one of the things I do is to make it like very bright. And then the parts of her eyes, like her eyebrow, just add a little bit of highlight to this so that it will come out and to be very obvious. Yeah, something like this. Yeah, so when you do that, you just notice that it just makes the whole thing pop up. This is not the best oil paint that I've done, but I did not want the tutorial to be very long, so I had to do this. Now the last thing I usually do is, remember, light is falling from the top. So for the shirt, I'm just going to pick not the shirt color. Remember, don't add colors to this shirt. No, don't add highlights to this part. You're going to add highlight to the one right beneath it. So I'm going to press duplicate with Ctrl J and clip it. Then for the highlight, remember light is falling right up here, so I'm just going to add I have a shortcut key by pressing H, which means highlight. You can add that with your preference on Photoshop, but for now, and I have a video dedicated to making shirts or adding highlights to your shirts to make it look a whole lot better. So yeah, so I think this is what you just do. You just do this, and I think I should make this mid-tone and make the exposure say 20 so it doesn't get way too much. And yeah, I think this is beautiful. I don't like when the effects are too much. I like when they are very subtle and they're beautiful. It just makes me feel better, right? So yeah, so lastly one of the things I like doing is just add this. Yeah, I don't think this is very good. I think, yeah, something around this. Then I can just probably reduce the exposure so I don't get way too much. And this is what I have. Not so you can just keep, of course, you can always keep working on all these things to have the optimal results. But then lastly, for the hair, one of the things you can do is to make the part that light doesn't touch on a little bit dark, and then the part light touches on, like this part here, you just go to highlight at once and just add this. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and just add this and highlight, so that way, yeah, something like this. Then here, just add something like this. So yeah, I think this is basically it. Okay, so you can just, yeah, so I think this is basically it. I feel like right on top of this place is way too much for the highlights and shadows. You can just reduce it a little bit. And for the eyes, I feel like it's a little bit dark. She doesn't smoke or something. I don't know if she does, but I'm just going to add this. You can just keep adding, like for the earrings, for example, you need to add a little more shine to make it look like she's I don't know, this whole shiny. So I'm making the highlight very much so it looks a little bit dramatic. Of course, it's an earring and it should be shining. So yeah, I think that is good. And this is for the eyes. Yeah, I think this is good too. So try not to add so much highlights on the eyes, if not she's going to look blind. So try to make it on the normal side, and you can still add right beside each brow. You can just add a little bit of highlight here. Then on the brow, make it dark with the bond tool. I'm just going to make it dark a bit here, dark a bit. Brow needs to be dark a little bit. I think this is what I have right now. So yeah, you can just keep working and working and working. Like on the hand here, we both know that the hand here is a little bit brighter, so you can just add this brightness to this part, add it to this part. Yes, then when you are through, you can probably just select your color balance, just balance it a little bit, yeah, something like this. So yeah, with this you have a very perfect, well popped up art. So I'm just going to show you the before and after. So before, and now, before and now. Now this is before I did the highlight, and this is now. If you look closely, I'm just going to go a little bit closer so you see it before and now. It doesn't look like it's way too much, but trust me, it is better you have a little bit of effect that catches the eye than you have something that is very obvious and it turns out not very good. But you can use the same tactic to keep working on your design and you have something beautiful done. And I think this is the end of this part of this video, while I just keep adding dramatic highlights to her lip. If you have not subscribed, please make sure you do, and if you're watching this video off YouTube, please come back on YouTube and give it a thumbs up if you have, and I'll meet you in the next one. This is Amshunkusa signing out. Catch you guys. Bye.